Gideon, hello everyone. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Just trying to confirm that we're here. Okay. Okay, good. Good, 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 good. Hello everybody. Welcome to FELM Masterclass 2000 this is July 2025. I am really, really excited to be here. It's been a journey. I followed FEM, right? Of course, I followed FEM, and then I'm really, really excited, sharing with us, um, you know, um, right here. Okay, so it's very important that you pay attention. I'm glad. I want to first of all say thank you to the leadership of FEM, called by Mr. Gideon Okeke, who happens to be my twin brother, right? And for all the great work he's doing with FEM. FEM stands for Finance, Education, Leadership, and Management. And, this is a balanced institute. I want to also thank him for, the thoughtful theme or topic that he gave to me for this session. You're going to pardon me. I'm having a little catarrh, so from time to time you may just have to excuse me, right? But I'm also going to try to make sure that this session is as brief as possible. Once again, welcome to FEM Masterclass. Today I was told to speak on leadership, the role and how of strategic action. The role and how of strategic action. When we talk about leadership, a lot of people have so many definitions of what leadership really is. All right, they understand leadership in their different ways. For example, someone who gets into a position in one way or the other, they have to start singing for that person, my leader, capacity, capacity. And that is what we see in our climb, right? Capacity. Now, because of what position? Because the person is where in a position. So a lot of people see leadership as but okay, but it's about position. So they cannot. Some people cannot call that same person my leader if he was not in a position. So it's about an orientation that some people have about leadership. Oh, once you have a position, whether or not you are a leader, we will regard you as a leader. And it's very dangerous. Why am I saying that? Because the people who are not who are I have always said that there's a difference between a leader and a politician. When we talk about who a leader is, someone who really, really is intentional about the influence that he is, commanded. Now, I'm trying to, get to give a background of what we are talking about, right? Now, the, it's someone who is really intentional about the influence that is bringing upon people. That is the person I know as an intentional leader. Now, the other person, people will say, "Oh, are you sure? Which one is intentional leader? Are there leaders that are not intentional?" Yes, there are leaders who are truly not intentional. Now, I believe that everybody is leading, right, in one way or the other, because we have a definition of leadership by John Maxwell that says leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And that also resonates with me. I love that. I believe that. So everyone was born with influence, whether you're obvious of it or you're oblivious of such facts, right? So everybody has leadership qualities. There are traits that that makes you an influential somebody, whether you know about it or you don't know about it. People are following you. People are following you. You know, a story about, a driver who was in the traffic. You know, he was in the traffic and then he now found a narrow way to now enter into a street. Guess what happened? He was entering into that street, and every other person whose car could fit into that narrow path followed him. They followed him. They thought he knew he knew an escape route from that point, from that traffic, right? Traffic jam. They followed him. Street upon street upon street, they were following him because they believe that, oh, this guy is smart. And probably maybe he's a commercial driver, right? So they felt like, oh, if he's a commercial driver, he knows all the routes. If he's a commercial driver, he knows all the routes. Not until this young man parked his car in front of his compound. That was when it became clear to everybody that, oh, we've been following this guy home. You've been following this guy. Are you serious? Now, the truth is that this guy didn't know that he was leading people. He didn't know that people were following him, but at that point, he was their leader. He was oblivious of it. So he didn't know, right? He didn't know that people were following him. So whose fault is it? Is it his fault or the people who followed him? I will leave you to judge that. All right. So he was oblivious of that. That's why I said, when people, leaders, some leaders can be oblivious of their influence. But exceptional leaders are not just leaders who have influence, but who are conscious of moving their influence from just influence to intelligent influence. Did you get that? There are people who are conscious of moving their influence from just being influential to having intelligent what? Intelligent what? Influence. So we're not going to end at having influence. We're going to end at intelligent influence. And it's a result of consciousness that, oh, I now have this weight of leadership, burden of leadership within me, and I am, responsible for the lives of some people. Because of the way I think and the things I say, some people are going to act in certain ways. And if that is so, I am going to take care and be sure that I'm not doing the wrong thing. I'm going to develop myself to be someone who is worth listening to, who is worth hearing, who is worth, that is strategic action on a personal level, right? Okay. So, this topic that I was giving, the role, the leadership, the role and how of strategic action reminds me, it's coming on the heels of our leadership debate conference, which ended 2 weeks ago or so. And it reminds me of what a lot of our speakers shared, different things that they shared at that conference. I would recommend that maybe you can make, the replay is going to be available on sale very soon. So we will let you know when the time comes, all right? So you can purchase, because powerful things were said in those rooms. 2 different rooms, 2 different days. Powerful things were said there. All right, so I want to celebrate, I've said that, celebrate the leadership of FEM, and I'm going straight into some of the things I have. What I've said before now should be maybe seen as a preamble, right? And I believe you have learned something already from that. All right, so we're going to move to my opening statement. I have my opening thoughts, like some things I think about that we're going to, just for before we get into other things that I will have to say tonight. I want to say that leadership without strategy is motion without direction. All right, leadership without strategy is motion without direction. Now, whether it is personal leadership, which happens to be the hardest form of leadership, or it is organizational leadership, or it is national leadership, whichever kind of leadership that you are pioneering or that you are given the privilege to lead people in one way or the other, whether by influence or by position. If you don't have strategy, it's motion without direction. That means you're running without knowing where you're going to. Right? You're running without knowing where you're going to. That means you woke up and then you say, hit the ground running. Day two, hit the ground running. Sorry, this is not referring to anybody, right? So hit the ground running. Where are we running to? Hit the ground running. So whether it's a personal form of leadership, that means you're leading yourself to become that person you're hoping to be. That means you're leading yourself to get into that position you are so anticipating. That means you're leading yourself to become that man that that woman would want to marry, or that lady that that man would want to marry. Whether it's personal leadership or whatsoever leadership kind of leadership it is, I think I maintain that if you don't have strategy, it's just you running without a direction. And let me also say that if you don't have a plan for your life or your organization, every other person will put you in their plan. They will deploy you to start working for them. They will deploy you to start functioning. You think you're still on your own, or you think you're still smart, you think you're about, because there's no clear-cut strategy and plan for your life, every other person will deploy you for their own. All right. So, what is your strategy? Most of our conversations tonight is going to be around your personality. That's personal. That is going to focus on personal, leadership, organizational leadership, and of course, national leadership. So, you're going to see me point some of these things even in the course of this conversation. All right. Now, the second thing I want to say is that we usually take action. We do take action, whether we are obvious of it or oblivious of it, whether we know we did it intentionally or we did not do it intentionally, we will always take action. Our life is full of actions. So when we talk about action, a lot of people feel like, oh, one big thing like that. Some people, they don't really believe action to be something important until we are talking about what they're going to do to have 100 million or 200 million. They don't believe it. Are you getting what I'm saying? Yes, they don't believe action is important until we are having that conversation. Okay, if you do this, you get 1 million naira. If you do that, if you do that, you're going to move from 10 members in your church to 100. Okay, yes. But action is really, really something we take every day. Are you getting what I'm saying? In your personal life, you woke up. You woke up. It was action for you to stand up from your bed and maybe knelt down to pray or sat down to do your quiet time. It was action. Some of the actions, in fact, the majority of the actions that drive our lives are already on autopilot. That means that they have become a culture. They become a habit. I'm going to talk about, habit and culture as we move on, but it's also very vital that we take note of that. Action is always, taking. So you're supposed to get into learn a skill and you did not learn it. You were taking an action in the opposite direction. We call it inaction, but it's still action. You're taking an action that is not going to push you to the next level. Are you getting the gist now? Okay, so action is taken. All our lives, we make decisions and we take actions. You decided you're going to eat beans tonight, beans and plantain, right? Or maybe beans and you soak it with gari, and white sugar, right? You decided you were going to do that. Was your decision, and then you took action. You went and bought beans and cooked it, or you bought it from wherever you bought it without. So you bought it and you took that action to cook it. So action is always taken. You may not think it as something huge, as an action, but it's something you are already doing, right? It's action. All right. So writing that email, responding to that email, making that phone call, taking that journeying to that location, applying for that job, employing, putting out calls for employment, all those things are actions. And you were taking them, but in your mind, there's nobody that is always hearing action, action. You're taking action now. No, no, we do a lot of things on autopilot. So no, nothing is going to So apologies for that. Apologies for that break. That break in transmission. All right. So let me continue. So you take action every day. The only thing is that there's no sensor in your brain that tells you you're about to take action today, right? You're about to take action today. So very soon we're going to talk about what's the difference between action and strategic action. Action is something you do every day. But let's talk about them now. However, before then, I want to also say that why you do something is as important as how you do it, right? Why you do something, that's the role that thing has to play, the reason why you're following something or doing something is very important and as important as how you do it. Okay, so we're going to come to that. But what exactly? So I had to check, and then I found a couple of definitions, but this synonyms really makes a lot of sense for me. Number one is a strategic means planned. I hope you're getting it. So in your life, you've got a plan. I was telling someone who is close to me the other day, I said, plan. I said, in your house, one of the reasons why you're having issue is because you don't even plan food. And I think there was, it also happened to me too. We don't plan food. Okay, so let me give you an instance. A time came within this year, usually, as bachelors, most bachelors would love to eat out because of, they say, oh, we don't have all the time, right? So at some point, I just started becoming so, especially, buying food um, from a particular place. And it seems like that's almost the only place available and close to us. So we have to plan. Now, I found out that I also I don't want to buy food. I want to cook my own. We want to cook our own and eat food and at least be sure of the hygiene of what we're eating. But every night, every day, the question in the house will be, what are we eating today? What are we eating today? Excuse you, because there was no proper planning, we end up every day, especially in the night, going to buy the same food that we said we're not going to buy. Until one day we nearly buy it, right? We hit food poisoning. Food poisoning, you know what? Oh my God. And I've never seen that kind of thing before in my life. That was the day we said, this is the time to start planning. Even at that, because it's not just to say it. Strategic action is not just to say it. I am strategic. Some of us have powerful affirmations. You are strategic, but you're not thinking. You just carry affirmation and put in your room and you're shouting, I'm strategic. What exactly is strategy? That's what we're discussing today, right? Strategic means it is planned. One, it is purposeful. Two, and it aligns with a larger vision. So whether you're an individual, an organization, or a nation, if you're being, it means you're planning, it means you are being purposeful, and it means that you are aligning with what? With a larger vision. So if Solomon Okeke wants to become, let's say, the top medical professional in the world, that is the larger vision. So if I have to take strategic actions as relating that, then I have to plan it and it has to be purposeful. That means whatever I'm doing is connected, has a purpose and connecting to the larger vision. If I want to start a business and I say this business is going to earn, make 100, so this business is going to make 100 million naira in revenue in the year 2025. What have I done? I've set a larger vision. That's a larger vision. So if I need to be strategic with my action, I have to plan it. What does 100 million mean? It means maybe about 8 point something million every month. Okay. So that's planned. The actions I'm going to take will always be purposeful because it has to relate. So I say, okay, 8.5 million per adventure every month. How do we get it? Okay, we're going to do adverts, we're going to do this, we're going to use social media, we're going to use influencers, we're going to use this and this and this and this and this and this and this. Are you getting the point? Now, it's a brainstorming, is a planning, is a strategic output. Sorry, is a strategic input, right? Because you know a lot of people don't plan, but we're going to get that. So it's a planning, and now your planning must be purposeful, and it must align with a larger vision. That is what we're talking about when we say the word strategic. Strategic means that it's planned. Then when we now add action to it, action really means is an implementation, right? These are synonyms, right? Close to action, synonyms of action. It's implementation, it's movement, is execution, right? So what is it that you know I want to achieve? So strategy gives you a picture of the larger vision. So action helps you in what? In implementing it. So strategic action, if you want us to now merge these two definitions, is a planned, purposeful um, implementation that aligns with a larger vision. Do I say it again? It's a planned, purposeful implementation, or you could say execution, that aligns with what? A larger vision. Now, we're going to pause to ask ourselves a question. What is a larger vision of your life? Because we say we're going to align this session to personal, business, and of course, national and national, right? So, what is the larger vision for your life? Some people don't have, and that's why a lot of confusion step in our lives in one way or the other. Some people really, really do not have. So, what is the larger vision? That says that that strategic action is built on vision, is built on foresight. That this is where I'm headed to, and this is where our organization is headed to. So if our organization is headed to this place, we must be doing something that is taking us to that place. If not, Casala don't box. If not, there's going to be a problem. All right. So what is right? What is the vision? What is your vision? The vision of your life. What is the vision of what is the vision of your organization? What is the vision of your nation, of your country? Hey, okay, I know we have some international people joining us, so I won't say what I want to say, but every nation that does not have a vision is doomed, right? Every nation that does not have a vision will always act out of alignment. I don't know if you've ever seen a car that is out of alignment. The car will be moving, you'll be driving into A and the car will be moving to B, right? Every nation, every people that do not have a vision, that do not have a larger vision for their lives will always act out of alignment because there's even no alignment at the start, right? Okay, so what is that thing that makes action strategic? One is that it is aligned with a clear goal and vision. It's aligned with a clear goal and vision. I want to lead myself to make a first class in school. Clear goal and vision. What it means is that by the end of this school, whatever, how many years, some people 4, 5, 6, or 7 years, by the end of some people also have asked to help them too. My mouth shut up. Some people ask to help some people in the country where I'm from. So if I want to right? Have a first class as a student, that's an established goal. That is a purpose, that is a vision. So if a goal or an action must be strategic, must align with a clear vision. So if by the end of the 4 years you're staying in school, you didn't make a first class, that means you really, really did not achieve that the goal, right? So what are the things that make action strategic? It must align with a clear goal or vision. It must be based on insight, not guesswork and emotion. It must be based on what? Insight, not guesswork and emotions. Okay, so if we do this, we're going to get this. Oh, maybe if we do it like this, we'll run to this place. Maybe if we get into this business, maybe it will give us millions of naira. Maybe as a country, if we borrow a lot of money, maybe we would develop our nation with the borrowed money. Maybe those things are assumptions. So you must ask yourself, what is the insight that is generating this action? What is the insight that is generating this action? It's not guesswork, it's not emotions. That's one of the things that will make your action strategic. Number three is that it must consider timing, resources, and impact. So it must consider timing, resources, and impact. Timing is very important, and everything that you must do that must succeed on a national scale, if you want to lead people um, out of maybe hardship, there is a timing for it. If you must lead, if for example in Nigeria, there's a timing. You cannot do more than 8 years maximum. So if you're going to take actions, you're thinking, in fact, first of all, it's 4 years. So if you're going to take challenge, if you're going to change things as a leader in a nation, in a country, in a state, you're going to ask yourself, 4 years, what can I do in 4 years? Because it's actually what you can do in 4 years that will determine if you're going to move into the next 4 years in a democratic system of government. Are you getting what I'm saying? So the timing is always there. Timing is always there. We want to make 100 million, 200 million as an organization in 1 year. That's a timing. There's a cap of 12 months there. And then you're going to also consider your resources. You're going to also consider you're going to also consider what? Your resources. And of course, consider impact, right? When I even talk about resources, that's a story for another day because there's so much to talk about resources. But for now, you're going to consider your timing available for that action or for that goal to be achieved. You're going to consider the resources available. And of course, you're going to consider the impact. If there's not going to be a positive impact in what you're doing, then if there's not going to be a positive impact on what you're doing, then it's not strategic. You're not moving forward, right? Whether it's for your life or for your business or for the nation, you're not moving forward. So, why do we need strategic action, right? I'm going to run quickly to that and then I'll move to the last phase of our conversation today. It brings clarity, right? If you're strategic, you'll be clear to a great extent in your personal life, in your business, and of course in the nation. If there is strategic action, if we have a place where we are going to in our nation that is documented, that is followed bumper to bumper by the people in charge, we're going to rise faster. If we have a place where we're going in our company that has insight and is documented and is followed carefully, we're going to do what? We're going to go higher. If I have a place in my life that I have documented that I am following routinely, I'm going to go high. Provides clarity among chaos, right? there is a consistency of progress. There's a consistency of what progress. That's another thing. And then the influence is sustainable. If you really sat down to plan something and implement them, and that thing is purposeful and it aligns with the vision, I tell you in 20 years' time, you're still here. In 30 years' time, that business is still booming. Even when the owners are gone, in 50 years, in 50 years' time, that ministry is still alive and kicking because there is strategy to it, right? Don't just wake up and do things. A lot of people can wake up and do things, and when they do it, it will succeed. That's how you see people who became famous overnight. They didn't plan it. They didn't know how they got here. That's the same way that they may also not know how they left there. Is that okay? Right? Yeah. So you plan. You must have to plan strategically. Plan and let your plan be in alignment with a larger vision and goal. All right. So I'm going to run faster. So how do we act strategically? Now, number one is that you have to pay attention to the culture. It was Peter Drucker that said something very strategic. He said that culture eats strategy for breakfast, right? Culture eats strategy for what? For breakfast. What did you eat? Let me ask you, everybody who is joining us, right? What did you eat this morning? Imagine that, you know, imagine that that's your breakfast. Imagine that culture. Imagine that that's your culture, and then you are. Imagine that that's strategy, and then your culture. All right. Culture eats strategy for breakfast, and that's a statement by Peter Drucker. And the idea is that whatever the culture of an organization is, whatever the culture of the church is, whatever the culture of a nation is, and then of course when we come down to individual, is habits. Whatever the habit of an individual is, some people will call it routine also, is what determines the success of that person. It's your habit that will empower your strategy. If you don't have a strategy, if you don't have a corresponding habit, your strategy is not just going to be written. So when people come to office, we have policy here. Part of our policy is that we don't date ourselves as staff, but they have a call. That's a policy, right? That's a written policy. But there's an unwritten policy, which is their culture, you know, and they go about dating themselves. Guess what? That strategy that they are planning to execute to become whatever it is that they're going to become, because they're already defaulting, it's going to pay them back. I don't want to call it karma, right? But it's going to pay them back. So you want to ask yourself, if you really want to act strategically, what is your culture? What is the organizational culture? What is the national culture? We have a culture in the nation, right? Somebody went to is it China or India? I can't remember, or maybe Qatar, and he was doing a social experiment. He dropped his phone and kept a camera to capture it. My brothers and sisters, minutes went past, 30 minutes, 40 minutes. It was recorded. It was recording. Nobody took the phone. Social experiment. Well, there was a country where you don't need to drop it. You just hold it and be making a moving and it's gone. These are different cultures. So when you see the other country, it seems like it looks backward. And you see the other country that right? It looks like they are progressing. The thing there is culture. And when we talk about culture, I remember in primary school, I was taught that culture is the people's way of life. Whether they wrote it down as a constitution, decision, it is their way of life. They live like that. It's their value system. So, what is your personal value system? What is your organizational value system? And what is the national value system? It doesn't matter where you are, right? Ask yourself that question. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. So how do you act, strategically? Let's talk about the step framework, right, that I developed. Number one is see ahead. We are talking about vision. If you must act strategically, there is going to be a vision. So you're going to see something that means you're not there yet. So your actions is becoming strategic so you can get there, right? So have a clear vision of where you're going to, where your organization is going to, and of course, collectively, where our nation is going to, where our nation is going to, right? Then, the second part of the T is the second part of the step is T, which is think critically. Ask the hard questions. When you sit on tables and you're planning how this business will move forward, ask the hard questions. Some people feel like when we ask the hard questions that we are being pessimistic, that we are thinking, oh, our mind is failure list. No, our mind is not failure list. We are asking, what if this doesn't work? Is a critical question, not a pessimistic question. All right. Analyze patterns and make data informed decision. Sometimes it's very good to make faith informed decisions, right? Yeah, but sometimes it's also important to make data informed decision. I'm telling you, right? Yeah, that's a principle, right? Faith, faith is faith is faith in God, right? You live by faith, right? But you also live. In fact, most of the time, your life should be based on principle, and the data has come to stay, right? Data has come to stay. Now, so the E part of the steps framework for strategic action is that you engage resources wisely, right? Whether it's your personal life that you're building, you cannot be wasting money as a student, money that you're not making like that. For instance, you're in school and the money is not coming from your pocket and you're wasting it. One day you're going to see way, right? So engage resources wisely, whether it's human resources, time resources, intellectual resources, or whatever kind of resources, right? Engage them wisely. Mobilize strategically. Don't give don't give a yam to a goat in the name of assigning roles. Don't give a yam to a goat in the name of assigning roles. All right. So the P part of steps is prioritize what moves the needle. Don't be everywhere, my brothers and sisters. Don't be everywhere. Focus on action that align with the big picture. Oh, this is where our company has to be in the next 10 years. You cannot be doing everything here today. What is that thing that will bring us closer to the next 10 years picture? What is that thing that will bring us closer to the picture of the next 10 years? Then I've said it, prioritize, that's the P part of it, prioritize what moves the needle. Then S, which is the last thing, is that you have to stay on course. Adapt where necessary. You're not going to be rigid in the game of life, right? Strategy is not rigidity. I said it. Strategy, let me take it down. Strategy is not rigidity, right? Yes. Strategy, you have to adapt when necessary. When there is need. Stay on the course. Stay on the course. Stay on the course. Adapt where there is, stay on the course. S is stay on the course, right? Yeah. Adapt where there is need, but please, be flexible. Don't be rigid all the time. Strategy is not rigidity, right? So finally, as we wrap up, I would want you to know. I think the Bible even says it, right? I think it's in Luke 14:28. Which of you intending to build a tower does not sit down first and count the cost? The Bible says, which of you intending to build a tower does not sit down and count the cost? Strategic action is counting the cost. Are you getting what I'm saying? Yes, counting the cost. And you've got to count the cost and then you move into action. I want to say thank you for joining us on this session. It's almost 15 minutes of session, and I want to thank you sincerely. I believe that the things that you have learned are going to power you to make wise decisions and move your life to the next level. I celebrate you, and I'm going to be standing by, right? I'm going to be standing by to take questions if there are any. But for now, thank you. Love you and celebrate you.